Jai Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajacharya Ashto Tarasata Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananda Kori Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Jaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Utirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhavati Naishtaki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, chapter 15. The chapter is entitled Description of the Kingdom of God. And I only planned to read text 22, but I see 23 is also written up there. So we'll see how we go. If I run out of things to say, we'll move on. Vapi Shuvidrum Tatashwamalam Ritapsu Preshyan Vitani Javane Tulasi Birisham Abhyar Chatishwalakam Unasam Ikshavaktram Ushcheshitam Bhagavatet Yamatanga Yashri Vapi Shuvidruma Tataswamalam Ritapsu Prashyan Vitani Javane Tulasi Birisham Abhyar Chatishwalakam Unasam Ikshavaktram Ushcheshitam Bhagavatet Yamatanga Yastri Vapi Shuvidruma Tatas Amalam Ritapsu Prashyan Vitani Javane Tulasi Birisham Abhyar Chatishwalakam Unasamikshavakram Ushcheshitam Bhagavatet Yamatanga Yastri Vapisha Vidruma Tata Samalam Mitapsu like to try? It's always a first time, you know. Always a first time if you've never tried. Vapisha vidruma tata samalam tapsu. Preshyan vidani javane tulasi biriksha. Abhyachati swalakam unasamiksha bhaktram. Shitam bhagavate jamatangayaschi. Bravo. It's a real tongue twister, that one, isn't it? I hope I didn't butcher it with that meter. Does anyone know the correct meter? No? Nobody else? Okay. Vapishu. In the ponds. Vidruma. Made of coral. Tatasu. Banks. Amala. Transparent. Amrita. Nectarian. Apsu. Water. Preshya Anvita. Surrounded by maidservants. Nijavane. In her own garden. Tulasibi. With Tulasi. Isham. The Supreme Lord. Abhyarchati. Worship. Su alakam. With her face decorated with tilak. Unasam. Raised nose. Iksha. By seeing. Vaktram. Face. Ucheshitam. Being kissed. Bhagavata. By the Supreme Lord. Iti. Thus. Amata. Thought. Anga. O demigods. Yat Shri. Whose beauty. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The goddesses of fortune worship the Lord in their own gardens by offering tulasi leaves on the coral-paved banks of transcendental reservoirs of water. While offering worship to the Lord, they can see on the water the reflection of their beautiful faces with raised noses, and it appears that they have become more beautiful because of the Lord's kissing their faces. Purport. Generally, when a woman is kissed by her husband, her face becomes more beautiful. In Vaikuntha also, although the goddess of fortune is naturally as beautiful as can be imagined, she nevertheless awaits the kissing of the Lord to make her face more beautiful. The beautiful face of the goddess of fortune appears in ponds of transcendental crystal water when she worships the Lord with tulasi leaves in her garden. Om Jnanatimarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Milidam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Well, Hare Krishna, thank you for coming to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Been a while since I've given class, so please bear with me. I'm very nervous, and we'll see how we go. First thing I'd like to say is, after what I just said, is what a great fortune we have been given, or especially I feel myself, what a great fortune I've been given to even be able to talk about these things. I mean, in my own life, I couldn't have ever imagined having access to such information, having grown up in a Western culture where maybe Christianity was dominant, and when I was growing up, maybe impersonalist philosophies like Buddhism was prevalent. A lot of people were turning to alternative religion like Buddhism or Sai Baba, something like that. And I'm getting ahead of myself here. When I cook the Raj Bhog for Krishna on a Tuesday, or for all the deities, I get to listen to Srila Prabhupada for about 6 hours straight. It's my favourite thing. I have a little Prabhupada player. Highly recommend. If you don't have one, I think Bharat Prabhu sells them. There's a shameless plug for you, Bharat. And it's everything Prabhupada ever said, recorded. And it's just fantastic. You get to hear all of the intimate conversations he has. Classes, conversations, lectures. And I am getting ahead of myself. On that note, pardon me, I remember we had Shureshwara Prabhu here giving a series of lectures about Srila Prabhupada and the importance of Srila Prabhupada. And he mentioned, and it stuck with me, that by Srila Prabhupada's mystic potency and Krishna's unlimited abilities, Srila Prabhupada becomes more and more available. It's not that we didn't get to be with him and therefore we don't have access that certain disciples had or certain personal servants had. In fact, we have more access to Srila Prabhupada than ever before, and it's only increasing day by day. I love thinking about that. So I get to listen to Srila Prabhupada when I'm cooking. And I'm remembering a conversation. People were talking about Christianity, and Prabhupada mentioned they have no information on God. They have some concept of the greatness of God or the position of God. God is a position. It's a title, meaning the supreme controller or the all-powerful one or the omniscient, omnipresent. But they don't know who he is. And we have this amazing fortune, perhaps I'll appreciate that myself one day, that we have such personal information about who the personality of Godhead actually is. And not only that, we know who his father is, who his mother is, who his friends are, who his girlfriends are, the name of his dog. Right? It's unfathomable, at least for me, to think that I have the access to such a thing. And it's only by the mercy of the Acharya, the spiritual masters, that we have such a great fortune. Who was it said to? I was on the phone last night. Just see how available Srila Prabhupada is becoming more and more each day. Just pick up my computer that's more powerful than anything ever created before it, and just press a button, and I instantly speak to a friend down in Victoria. Whereas previously, I think you'd ring somebody up, and if they weren't home, you just couldn't speak to them. But everyone carries a phone with them these. And immediately we're talking, how are you? You're doing the Bhakti Shastri? And then all of a sudden we just start talking about Srila Prabhupada and verses and Krishna this and Caitanya that. And it just became again apparent to me that, this is more available than ever. I'm losing my train of thought, sorry. It's been a while. So, we have this great access to Krishna, all of his incarnations. That's what I wanted to say. It's only by the mercy of the spiritual master and the guru and the devotees that we are able to hear about Krishna and his unlimited wonderful qualities, right? There's that chapter in the Krishna book, Wonderful Krishna. What chapter is that, Rupa? Do you know? I would expect. Wonderful Krishna. If you ever get the fortune of Rupa Raghunath's Association at night time, do you still read the Krishna book at night, Prabhu? Yeah. Hot Milk and Krishna book with Rupa Raghunath. Highly recommended. So by the mercy of the devotees And I'm remembering my own spiritual master's words, it's only by mercy that we have the great fortune to progress in spiritual life. In fact, that is the only thing we have. It's the only thing we have. That's why offending devotees is such a big thing. His Holiness Bhanu Swami Maharaj was trapped here for 9 months, I think, during COVID. We were very fortunate. But again, the whole world is very fortunate because all of those lectures are on YouTube for access for the rest of time, or for long as the internet exists. And now, the advancement of technology, so-called advancement, you can even just get an instant transcript. If you don't want to watch the class or listen to the class, you can get it all transcribed so that you can read it in your own time, in your own voice, in your own head. Bhanu Swami Maharaj gave a class on the 10 offences, basically, and offending Vaishnavas, and how it's such a serious thing. And I love how he gives such simple conceptual summaries. Basically, the devotees are the carriers of bhakti. They're not the cause of bhakti. Well, maybe they are in one sense, but they're the carriers of bhakti. And therefore, if you become hostile to, let's say the cause, if you become hostile to the cause of bhakti, then logically bhakti goes away. Because you have become hostile. Just like in your own life, if someone is a little bit hostile toward you, you kind of distance yourself, or at least I do, distance ourselves from those hostilities. Nobody wants to be around conflict or criticism. So, only by the mercy of the devotees do we have the opportunity to hear about Krishna. And from hearing about Krishna, we then chant about Krishna. Shravanam, Kirtanam. And then by practice, we can smaranam, remember Krishna. And why is that important? Always remember Krishna and never forget him. This is the secret to spiritual life. Right? In fact, if one always remembers Krishna, hears and chants about Krishna, then one is with Krishna. Because Nama Rupa Guna Lila, Krishna and his name and his form, his pastimes, his activities are all non-different because he's absolute. So, we can be with Krishna at every moment. We can be with Srila Prabhupada at every moment. We can be with our spiritual master at every moment simply by remembering their orders. And what is the order of the spiritual master? Chant Hare Krishna. So we chant Hare Krishna, we remember Krishna, we're always with Krishna, and then we become, what is it? Katanicham Tushanti Chara Manticha. We experience great satisfaction and bliss by hearing, by enlightening one another. Krishna describes it, right? Does anyone know that verse, please? No, but I like that one too. What's that one, Rupa? That's 10:10. What about 10:9? My guitar. Tamam Nijam. Bravo. 10:9. So Krishna describes, first of all, in 10:8, he describes how he's the source of everything, and that the wise who know that, they worship him. They don't worship anybody else. And how do they worship him? Katayantascha mam nityam. They talk about him. They talk about him. Just like people can't help but talk about the A-lister celebrity or movie star or music rock star. Taylor Swift, right? Who likes Taylor Swift? Anybody? That's every time I open the news, it's Taylor Swift. So people like to talk about opulence, people with opulence. So Tushanti Cha Ramanti Cha. The devotees get together and they talk about Krishna. And is there any limit to what we can talk about Krishna? Unfortunately not. Fortunately not. He has unlimited incarnations, unlimited qualities. What's one of your favourite qualities of Krishna? Anybody? Straight off the top of your head. Beauty. Yes? Now tell me how he's beautiful. No? Lotus eyes? What else? Anything? Rupa? Causeless compassion. Where does he exemplify that, Rupa? Mahaprabhu. Is anyone more merciful than Lord Caitanya? Nityananda. Very good. Yes. So anyone else have a favourite quality of Krishna or so? Vaishnavi? Jatila. There you go, funny. Krishna's funny. A friend of mine, we love to swap humour and jokes and things like that. Sometimes we lose ourselves in laughter. And then I remember one day he said to me, could you imagine what it's like if your rasa with Krishna is humour and it's this unlimitedly ever increasing humour? I don't think I could handle it. Have you ever laughed so hysterically that you feel like you're leaving your body or something like that? You lose yourself. Could you imagine that forever, ever increasing? It's hard to imagine. I hope that's my rasa with Krishna. Rupa. Wow. Yep. I'm fascinated by technology actually, and I've recently artificial intelligence, people are using it to learn how dolphins talk to each other and whales, and they've decoded their languages. It's pretty impressive stuff. But there it is, the Adi Purush has been able to do it all along, right? Dr. Doolittle. Any other qualities of Krishna? Yes, Julian. Always forgiving. Can you think of an example? Yeah. There's nobody more patient than Krishna, right? Does anyone know that verse about the two birds? I keep looking for Charana Aravinda, he knows all these verses, but he's somewhere else. The two birds in the tree, right? We all know that example. Has everyone heard that one? No. So there's two birds sitting in a tree, and one of them is us, and the other is the Supreme Lord. And these birds travel from tree to tree, which represents our body. And one of the birds, ourselves, is trying to enjoy all of the different fruits and flavours of the tree, which is the material world and our body. And the other bird is simply watching and waiting for the other bird to get sick and tired and give up on trying to enjoy and then turn his face back to him. So it's a lovely, I think it's Katha Upanishad. I should know that one. Always a great meditation, especially around here with all the birds. If you're ever in town during sunset, you ever see those flocks of birds? It's so loud, deafening. And you don't want to park under the wrong tree at that time with your car. But I always think of that. Oh wow, the birds. And Krishna's so patient. He's simply waiting for us. He travels with us from body to body. That's his unlimited mercy. In all of our different material conditions, from the cockroach to the hog in stool to the human, waiting for us to give up our attempt to enjoy and instead turn to him. It's a nice meditation. So we have access. Oh, Rupa Raghunath, yes. Yeah. In fact, isn't that the meaning of Krishna? The perfect name for the personality of Godhead is Krishna, because he's unlimitedly attracts unlimitedly all the unlimited jivas. And can you confirm it for me? I don't know if I've ever read it, but apparently he has one thing reserved just for you that attracts just you. Can anyone confirm that? He has one particular quality that's reserved just for you. I'll have to qualify that one, but if anyone knows about that. Yeah. Unlimitedly attractive. Yeah. And even if we aren't pursuing the personal form of Krishna and the personality of Krishna, his inferior energy attracts us. So we cannot help but be attracted by Krishna in any way, shape or form. Even if we choose to destroy him or try to kill him with impersonalism, he still has us within his snare, because we are Nitya Krishna Das, eternal part and parcel of Krishna. Unfortunately, we can't escape the fact that we are an eternal servant of God. Fortunately, I should say. So in this verse, we're hearing about the goddesses of fortune. We heard a great class from Vasudharashtra yesterday, which is a very famous verse. In fact, he was thanking you, Rupa, for giving him the ability to talk on it. It's that famous verse where the goddesses of fortune are cleaning, even though there's nothing to clean. But they do it to attract the favour of Krishna. And that's, in a nutshell, our entire life as a devotee. We're trying to win the favour of Krishna. I think I asked Banu Maharaj a question in this regard. No. Who am I? How the hell am I? How on earth am I going to ever get the shelter of Radha Vallabha? And he said, oh, you do your sadhana and you wait. You wait for the mercy. You wait for the causeless mercy of God. Because as we heard from Rupa before, he appears millennium after millennium to inspire and deliver the devotees. This is his mission. Krishna has a mission statement. He wants you back, and speaking for myself, more than we want to go back. So he, out of his causeless mercy, comes in unlimited forms and displays unlimited pastimes to attract us. When we're sick of hearing about the latest movie star's latest boyfriend or girlfriend, and we've chewed the chewed, we've been there, done that, then we can try to relish the pastimes of Krishna, which are unlimited. So does anyone have a favourite pastime of Krishna that springs to mind? No. I'm obsessed with the Mahabharata myself and my children. Thank Krishna. My kids are becoming more and more interested in the Mahabharata. We named our latest child Bhima. So they keep asking me about Bhima. And then you start talking about Bhima, and then you start talking about Balaram, and you start talking about Krishna. And the questions don't stop, especially children, which is a wonderful thing. And that's what we should be like, unlimitedly curious about Krishna, right? What's atato brahma jigyasa. Now that you've attained the human form of life, you have the great opportunity to inquire into the absolute truth. And it's not some ethereal, philosophical concept. The absolute truth is a person. And we don't have to look far for a proof that that this person is the absolute truth when they simply pick up a giant mountain with the little finger of their left hand. and hold it aloft for 7 days, was it? Or when he, as a tiny, tiny infant, sucks the life out of a giant witch and kills her dead. Or when he displays his universal form to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. And that gives me an opportunity to talk about one of my favourite verses. Here's a question for you. In the purport, Prabhupada says, this verse is considered to be the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Does anyone know which verse that is? Maybe he says it in other purports, but he definitely says it here. This verse is considered to be the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Good guess. I would have said something like that. I would have said that too. 10:8, 1866. Which one is it? It is 11:55. Julan knows it. Does anyone know 11:55? Yeah. Rupa Raghunath, everybody. Madbhakta, Sanghavarjita, Nirvaira, Mam. Bravo, Rupa Raghunath Prabhu. My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me and who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living entity, he certainly comes to me. What a verse, right? Reminds me of the definition of Bhakti Yoga given by Rupa Goswami. I'm looking at you. What's that? Anya Karma Janavritam Ena Krishnanu Shilanam Bhak. Uchate or Uttama? I always mix those up. Uttama. Bravo. So here we can see Krishna says the same thing, right? His devotees simply repeat what he says. Everything is contained in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada said. In fact, I believe it's in the introduction. He says, or it's in one of the verse purports. I really need to brush up. All the information and more. All the information of the material world and more is contained in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says. Phenomenal, right? 700 verses. I'm trying to be friendly to this fly that's coming to me. So, here Krishna is saying the same thing. And if you don't mind, I would like to read this purport because it's, or at least a part of it. There's another verse Prabhupada quotes from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in the purport. As far as work is concerned, one should transfer his energy entirely to Krishna conscious activities. As stated in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Anasaktasya yataham upayunjata nirbandha Krishna sambandhe. This is the Yukta Vairagya verse. Yukta Vairagya means the ability to turn anything material into something spiritual. So, Yukta Vairagya, the proper renunciation of something, giving up your ownership of it and recognizing Krishna as the proprietor. And in the purport, Prabhupada talks about the businessman. His Grace Vasudharashrestha Prabhu yesterday was talking about Lakshmi Devi being hard to lock down, I think, where he was talking about his own life. It's a bit hard to get access to finances. And in this purport, Prabhupada talks about the businessman can deal with hundreds of thousands of dollars if he recognizes Krishna as the proprietor of the business. Yeah. So Yukta Vairagya, our correct use of something, the spiritual use of something. whether it be cooking, and very simply, the correct use of the ear and the correct use of the tongue, right? If it's not this verse, I believe it is this verse. I read so many things last night. Could be the next verse here, I'm sorry. The useless waste of time of talking about anything other than Krishna. So how do we know who a devotee is? I should have mentioned that earlier. We talk about this Tushanticha, Ramanticha, or Katayantaschama. I beg your pardon. Yes, Katayantaschama Nicha. Always talking about Krishna. This is how we know who a devotee is. And therefore we should be very careful not to offend that person. So the correct use of our ear, the correct use of our tongue, always talking about Krishna. It can be a challenge, especially speaking for myself, if we are interested in other things, other mundane things. And one might even challenge somebody, oh, you just talk about your business so much, or you just talk about this subject matter so much. But if it's in relation to Krishna, it is Krishna Katha. If we're trying to work out how best to manage our business, or how best to manage a farm, ISKCON farm, or Govinda's restaurant, or how, which chemical should we buy to clean the temple room floors? I mean, this is all Krishna Katha because it's all connected to Krishna. So, we've been given this great art form, this great ability by the acharyas, by the mercy of the devotees. We're able to learn how to Krishna-ize everything, how to spiritualize everything. And it starts with the tongue, right? What's that verse where Prabhupada talks about the tongue so much? Is it Vacho Vegam? Is that the one? Starts with the tongue. And by using the tongue, we're able to control the belly, the genitals. We hear in this previous verse and in this verse the beauty of the goddesses of fortune in the spiritual world. It even talked about their hips, I think. And it talks about how there is no sex desire in the spiritual world. It's completely pure. Even though there is no more beautiful women than those in the spiritual world, the beauty is simply an expression of the devotion to Narayan or Krishna, to attract him. It's quite amazing to think that there are partnerships in the spiritual world and there's no sex desire between those people. I'm remembering when I used to do book distribution with Rupa and others, we'd listen to lectures in the car or the van to whatever destination we were going to. And I remember Hridayananda Das Goswami talking about, he was talking about relationships in the spiritual world, and he said it's not as if Nanda Maharaj, I don't know why it makes me laugh, it's not as if Nanda Maharaj comes home from a hard day of tending the cows and Mother Yashoda's over the stove making milk sweets, And Nanda Maharaj says, are they for Krishna? And Yashoda Maya says, yes. And that's the end of their relationship. No, they have a loving relationship full of affection because it gives Krishna pleasure. That's the point. Krishna has parents because he wants to have loving parents, right? He wants to see them in love, loving each other because they love their son, Krishna. I just find that fascinating, that there are relationships in the spiritual world, not just with Krishna. It's not just Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Relationships between the devotees as well, with Krishna as the focal point. Yeah. So we have these exquisitely beautiful women in the spiritual world. And I had to look this one up. Interestingly, in the translation, in the word for word, we hear about tilak, but it's not in the translation. But it talks about raised noses, and I had to look this one up. Right? Well, raised noses are a beautiful thing. And then I thought, well, I better find out about Radharani if she's the most beautiful. And it led me to a description by Rupa Goswami of Radharani's beauty. And it looks like I closed that tab. It goes on and on about Radharani's beauty, and then it mentions that her nose is like a sesame flower. So I had to look up, what is a sesame flower? And just see, Krishna becomes more and more available, or Prabhupada becomes more and more available. The power of this internet, or I should say, we can use the internet for Krishna consciousness or for other things. But I was able to instantly look up a sesame flower and try to envision what Radharani's nose looks like. And it's this raised, upturned nose, which is the definition of the most beautiful nose, apparently, according to the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we can hear about, in great detail, the forms of Krishna, forms of his devotees, and meditate on them, think about them, especially when we're looking at the deities. We can think about all of the moons on Krishna. How many moons on Krishna's body, do we know? Moons. How many moons on Krishna's body? There's some homework for us all. Krishna has many, many moons all over his body. Yes. Yeah. I'm remembering toenails, moon-like face, yeah. But there's actually many, many moons on Krishna's body. Yes. Yeah, so here we are. The spiritual world is not this, as we'll hear in the next verse, which I will skip. If anyone's doing tomorrow's class, you're doing text 23. The spiritual world is full of this variegatedness. There are transcendental crystal waters where these goddesses of fortune walk on coral paths, coral banks. I can't even imagine this. In comparison, I was just reading the news that we've now discovered that all of the water sources in Australia contain a carcinogenic chemical. If you're not aware. PFOS and PFOA has been discovered. It was first discovered in Mullumbimby, which was a big deal because Mullumbimby, hippies, organic gardening, and someone had their water tested and it was like, oh, this contains a forever metal, a forever chemical. So then all of the cities people began testing all of the water in the cities, and yes, it's full of this chemical which causes cancer. So highly recommend you get a water filter. In comparison, transcendental crystal water of the spiritual world and the goddesses of fortune offering tulasi leaves in the water. Yes. So danger at every step in the material world. Not surprising that there's some problem with the water. So we do the best we can to worship Krishna with this life. We try to use every energy in becoming Krishna conscious. And at the end, depending on his mercy, whether we go back to him or not, Prabhupada said the devotee's happy to go to hell. I was laughing with Mukunda Maharaj. We had one of his British-born disciples was in the room talking about London. And I said to Maharaj, didn't Prabhupada say something about hell? And Maharaj sprung straight into the story. Yes, Prabhupada was on the news interview with a journalist. He knew the journalist's name, he knew the TV station and everything. And he said, Prabhupada, the journalist asked Prabhupada, in your philosophy, is there a conception of hell? And what did Prabhupada say? London is hell. Yeah. London is hell. So the devotee's even willing to go to hell, London, to preach Krishna consciousness. So we do the best we can, and at the end we depend on that mercy, the mercy of the devotees. We hope to be surrounded by devotees, chanting Hare Krishna as we leave our mortal coil. And Jamakama Jame Divyam. If Prabhupada mentioned regarding that verse, if we simply try to understand the nature of Krishna's appearance, we'll go back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts? Rupa? I think so. By the way, When a woman is kissed by her husband, she becomes more beautiful. Has anyone ever been married? Or anyway, Rupa.
I was just going to ask about that.
Okay.
There was Prabhupada Remembrances years ago, 2005 in Mayapur. Malati Devi Dasi was saying that a lot of the grihastas, they were trying to be like really renounced, from their husband or wife. And Prabhupada said, no, you should kiss your wife, And here we see that Prabhupada says, no, if a man kisses his wife, she becomes more beautiful. And obviously every husband wants his wife to be beautiful, or more beautiful, right? And so I don't know how that came in, I can't remember how that came in connection with the residents of the spiritual world. What was the connection there?
Yes, Goddess of Fortune awaits the kissing of the Lord. It says that become more beautiful because of the Lord's kissing their faces.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask, in Grihastha life, we're meant to follow strict principles, and as everyone may experience, if there's too much butter and fire too close, too much interaction, one thing can lead to the next. So, like Prabhupada did say, kiss your wife, but obviously you have to be careful about how much intimacy is there, right? Because it can lead to fall down. So I don't know if you want to comment on that.
I don't.
Sometimes grihastas may get to the point where they don't kiss or they don't hug, and they're really satisfied that they don't really need that, or they feel they don't need that. And,
well, Prabhupada said, kiss your wife. You said it.
Yeah, but also, there may be relationships where the wife doesn't want to be kissed, doesn't want to be hugged, then that could be fine too,
Well, yes. Well, speaking on a mundane level, being a grihastha as well, we've got to work on our relationships. If your wife doesn't want you to kiss her, we've got to start from scratch again. Start with communication, develop some affection, some hopefully around Krishna and spiritual life. But even just on a mundane level, I'd say, if there's some problems, we start with communication. Warm up to the kiss. And then in regards to a kiss becoming more and more leading to a fall down, I think you said, well, we have principles we try to live by. According to Srila Prabhupada, a husband should be affectionate to her wife and to his wife and vice versa. And I've heard from my own spiritual master, there's different levels of sex life in Krishna consciousness. We have Krishna's standard in the Bhagavad Gita. I remember hearing it from Devamrita Maharaj many times. What is sex life? According to spiritual principles, Krishna says it in the Gita. It's for making children. That's what it is. Krishna conscious children, even more. Yeah. How am I doing so far? Yeah. But yes, ladies, it says that you become more beautiful if you're kissed by a husband. So don't shy away, maybe.
Does that go the other way too? The man becomes more handsome?
It doesn't mention that. It doesn't mention vice versa. But yeah, let's go with that. A man becomes more handsome when his wife kisses him or his girlfriend kisses him. Yeah. But yes, we should be careful of that Rajaguna, that sex desire, because before you know it, there's a child, and then you got to feed that thing, and you got to clothe it and bathe it, and it becomes your deity, right? Becomes your worshipful deity.
Prabhupada said looking after the children in Krishna consciousness is more important than worshipping the deity.
Excellent. I'll take that. Yeah. Yeah, because one shouldn't become a father or a spiritual master or what's the other one? Or a leader or a king or something, unless he can deliver his dependents. So all we do is follow. That's what I really wanted to talk about today, and I got so sidetracked. We get this information and we simply repeat it. We don't come up with anything new, right? That was Prabhupada's great ability from his spiritual master, all the way back to Lord Brahma, all the way back to Krishna. We just simply repeat the message of Godhead. We don't have to try. We don't even have to try, right? We just have to hear it, repeat it. There's the breakfast bell. So I do have a challenge for you. Everyone ready for a bit of trivia or a bit of... Yeah, it's an exam actually. Who is talking here? Who is talking? I know we stretch it out day after day with the Bhagavatam classes, and it's just like someone's talking about the goddesses of fortune, but who's actually talking? He's the head of our sampradaya, Lord Brahma, right? And who's he talking to? Vaishnavi, the demigods. And who is recounting this whole story? It's layer upon layer. Brahma's talking to the demigods. The demigods have approached Brahma because of what? Vaishnavi. Fantastic. There were these babies in the womb of Diti, right? And the whole universe was suffering. So what do people do when they suffer? Oh, please help. Or we hope that we pray. And they approach Brahma, right? For some relief. And how does he respond? He starts talking about his 4 sons, the 4 Kumaras. And he says that they went to the spiritual world. And then he's talking about the spiritual world. Pretty amazing stuff. It's like, can't believe I've got access to these stories, this information. It's just phenomenal. Srimad Bhagavatam. So there's your exam. Well done. You passed. It's Brahma talking. And it's Maitreya Muni recounting the story. And who's he talking to? Vidura. I've got to say, out of the whole Mahabharata, Vidura is probably my favourite character. He's so cool, Vidura. Hare Krishna. He's so cool, Vidura. In fact, you can get the Vidura Gita, where, I don't know if it's so bona fide, but it's Vidura talking to Dhritarashtra. And why is he talking to Dhritarashtra? Fantastic. I hope everybody heard that. Wasn't it right after Duryodhana told him to get out? Something like that? He was beating him. That's right, and he said, you're like a kept dog. He called his brother a dog, right? And then he instructed him. And the Vidura Gita, it's really nice. I've got it on my phone. So many instructions about life. Of course, the devotee is simply repeating the message of Krishna. So it's a nice way of getting Krishna's message again, in case you forgot, through Vidura. Yeah, it's wonderful. So we have this unlimited resource. You can never run out. If you're looking for entertainment, it's there. If you're looking for intellectual stimulation, it's there. If you're looking for the most famous, the most beautiful, the most wealthy, it's all there. Anything else? Rupa?
What about, as I've experienced, and probably other greenhouses, and probably you'll be maybe experiencing as your kids get a little bit older, that they don't just want to, read books about Krishna or the Mahabharata or watch movies about Krishna conscious movies. They want to watch the mainstream movies, and so sometimes you end up watching the movies with them. Can you comment on that?
Oh,
Can of worms.
Can of worms, Pandora's box. We try our best and tolerate the rest. We try our best. Try to give Krishna as much as possible. Every jiva has their own independence. It's really hard in the modern day with all of the ability to access, I can recount my own story. We've had to restrict one of our sons' use on a tablet just to rein it in, So it's on the responsibility's on the parent. I do recall that Prabhupada used to like watching Charlie Chaplin. And Krishna says, be balanced in recreation. So I don't know. One way we try personally is we just watch the Ramayana cartoon. Have you watched that? So good. Made in Japan. Fantastic. Kids love it. For the older kids, there's one called 18 Days on YouTube. 18 Days, the Battle of Kurukshetra. And it's so well produced, whoever did that, well done, because it transgresses back to stories of Draupadi or Krishna. And Krishna's in there. You can see Krishna and the Pandavas. The way they depict Bhima is fantastic. Then you've got little Krishna. Then you've got the Prabhupada memory. I know it's tough, but you just got to try your best. That's what I'd like to say. Yeah. Yeah, you definitely, what is it? Someone convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. So we don't want to force feed, but there should be some discipline, and maybe they are under your protection and control to some extent. Your responsibility. Anyone want to chime in on that? It'll go on the internet forever. Please don't hang me out to dry on the internet.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. You reminded me about the story how the first time Jiva Goswami had darshan of Lord Caitanya, because Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami and the brother of Sanatana Goswami, who was Rama lover, not Krishna lover. And so they brought the child to have darshan, and Lord Caitanya asked, whose jiva is that one? And Sanatana Goswami said, that's your jiva. But Lord Caitanya said, no, you can't say that, because jiva has independence. You can't say that. So they put the child to the feet of Lord Caitanya, and that little child, who was not even 1 year old, started sucking the big toe of the foot. And since that, he got the name Jiva. And the previous name he was called when he was born is forgotten now. That's Jiva Goswami. So every jiva has independence. We cannot force our children to become Krishna consciousness, only our example.
What is your name?
Chandrarekha.
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 Chandrarekhan. What does Chandrarekhan mean?
Chandrarekha is crescent moon.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, Chandrarekha. I'm Yadunandana. Wonderful story, right? And yes, everyone has independence, even you. In fact, that's all you have. The only thing you have is not a car, it's not a house. You only have your free will, your choice. That's it. This is my conversation. I'm sorry, we're dragging on here. You're welcome to leave, and I should wrap it up. This conversation I had last night with my friend, it all came back to the same thing. And he was talking about his children. Perfect. And that is, where are you taking shelter? When things get bad, and hopefully when they get good as well, where do you take shelter? That's all you have as a Tatastha Shakti. You take shelter in the spiritual or the material. And really, if we keep it simple, right? One Shiksha Guru of mine, he'd always say, keep it simple, Sadhu. Right? K-I-S-S. I think the original saying is keep it simple, stupid. But if we just keep it simple, I'm a jiva, I have independence, I have to make a choice at every single moment. May I choose Krishna instead of Maya. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanandi.